first thing is there's been a remarkable shift from a transformation perspective, right? Digitally, things have had a tremendous shift. That's number one. Number two, it's also driven by several kind of workloads today, not just your traditional enterprise workload, but also AI workloads, which they're planning for, if not now, in the future. And then we are also looking at modernizing your existing infrastructure from your traditional cooling to a better cooling methodologies. So I think that dialogue is very important. It's not about just data centers optimizing, but also clients thinking on how to use the better technique for harnessing the better power of PUE. From a very traditional, a large what do you call asset and inventory of cold aisle, I think now we are thinking of switching to another extreme of DLC and LIC. Just look at the transformation that brought about by customers, right? It's all driven by market. The first data center is Chennai, which is a 30 megawatt data center that's live and running, uh, going live in like April on April 1st, but it's already, it's completed and inaugurated. Then comes, see that campus is capable of taking 150 megawatts. It's a 300-acre campus. We have carved out about 20-25 acres for a 300 megawatt, but it can scale quite unlimited, right? It's got a scale. Then, of course, we are looking at Bombay and Bangalore as the next in the offering, and we are in pretty advanced stages of starting a construction for both these locations together. We want to have at least 10% market share in the data center space, but we don't want to stop there, right? So out of if it is three gigawatt in like next 10 years, we should at least have 300 megawatts. At least that's the aspiration, And I'm very sure the kind of market, the kind of product that we are building, you'll be very surprised. It's not a regular product. It's a product that is really tailored to market. We are trying to bake in the entire best practices of your renewable, sustainable energy right from the beginning. So we are not waiting, for it to kind of ramp up and things like that. You'll have all other risks. So that is making sure that the energy is addressed. So both in terms of whether we want to do it group captive or we want to, access some other form of optimizing, we are trying to do that. Second is we are building data centers where you can plug in all these different kind of cooling. So we give a lot of freedom on cooling, cooling methodology so that the clients can actually leverage the PUE. And then, of course, we have a large ecosystem to work with hyperscalers. We don't want to ignore that. I think we have, as you rightly said, we are known for that, we're known for that line of business. And I think we bring a lot of expertise, both in terms of consulting, implementation, management, and design. So we definitely want to embark on that journey as well as part of Cloudfiniti. AI is so power hungry at this moment. It's not something that it's easy. Even if enterprises want to go ahead and build something on their own, it's at a prohibitive cost and prohibitive management efforts, right? So the best way to leverage that would be in a hosted environment, in a like a sovereign hosted environments, which are a lot easier to really manage. Just consume it rather than build something on their own. So the first and foremost, the data center should be geared to really support those kind of stuff. Just imagine 50 to 70 kVA is not a small, it's not a small work, it's not a small rack, what do you call, power load, right? This is going to be a real challenge, the challenge of power, the challenge of heat, the challenge of cooling, the cost of cooling, the cost of networks. So this is where they can leverage very easily. And if you have these data centers, which has done those economics and makes it more viable, it's just a quick adoption, right? So that's from the AI perspective. The second question you asked me was about edge networks. Interesting question. I think India has been debating edge for a very long time. Now, if you look at your global counterparts, not all of them have been successful on having successful edges as such, or developing edge networks. People believed, you look at US, most of the edge networks, they were more tower mounted than really edge networks, right? So, but in India, I think we are very uniquely placed, both in terms of demographics, are spread in terms of the country and geography. Edges are very relevant. You may want to call it tier two cities, tier three, whatever, because of proliferation of your mobile devices, your 5G networks, your digital transformation. I think you cannot overlook the need for edge. Edge will become so much an integral part of our design and our investment, which is as important as the core. So we are looking at not just developing the core, but also edge networks which are relevant to the country and which we can complement with the rest of the other ecosystem in cities like it can be like cities like Lucknow, Gurgaon, um, North Jaipur, another really good city. Bhopal, nobody has thought of it. It's a good city. We could also look at Raipur. It's also developing another like an industrial edge. Then you have cities in the south like Coimbatore, which could be a really good edge. I'm wondering to serve that market. Kolkata edge come core. It's a small core and an edge market right now, but it's an edge market. It serves all of east and northeast, right? So all of these. So look at the ability that edge is equally important. In my opinion, at least in India, it's relevant. As 5G really becomes more intense, I think edge will become even more relevant, and we are definitely ready to invest in edge. Storage as such is a lot of focus. It's becoming super commodity. It's used for backup. It's used for archival. It's you need to just store data, and data has been very explosive. Again, on the AI front, you will still have a few needs around the storage. So, what's the best way? It's more compute intensive than actually storage, but you will need some storage there as well. So, impact on data centers from the data security perspective, I think we need to define that really well in terms of what is the scope of data or storage security. I think what we provide is a secured storage, right? It will be a peripheral secured storage to the clients. What they need to do is to work on both uh, unified security and privacy for their own part of their storage. That will not be in the scope of data center per se, but we will only look at storage versus storage as such. The network access to storage and storage, we will try to provide a peripheral based, very secured storage, easy to use, right? So that's the data center part. And of course, there's an explosive growth, and we'll continue to kind of support that. On the enterprise side, yes, when they actually host storages or use host storages or consume host storages, the way they define security, the way they define contractual security will undergo a major change, right? It will have a major impact depending on regulatory requirements, depending on your industry regulatory requirements. You may have to do tweak all those changes both in-house and also what you source from cloud in terms of how you wrap the storage for security for the storage, and also contractually what does it mean for a data center player when they have those execute those contracts, right? So these are the two major impacts that I see. And yeah, I think today you have lots of tools and technologies that are pretty easy, pretty viable to actually implement. I mean, I don't see that as a showstopper. Data centers have matured to an extent, and also they have been able to offer a really flexible. It's not like before. It's not so rigid. It's like flexible, extremely efficient. Earlier, we had a lot of issues. You know what? People would compare what they pay as power bill in their own captive versus what they would be paying for a data center. If the data center is not efficient, do I have to incur more? What is the PUE transfer? But today, I think you can actually have PUs implemented even for a customer level. Just look at the flexibility you're getting. My advice to customers would be when you have such a lovely asset, assets being created, there's so much of good assets that are created. Tier two, tier three, and tier four, giving you fundamentally a lot of flexibility, availability, reliability. I think they should offload a part of this SLA to the providers and free themselves up. That bandwidth will give them to do more constructive and probably more value added to their own business rather than managing, tweaking, fighting and making sure that your data center is up and running. It's a huge maintenance overhead for anybody. I think there is no captive data center that is as good as a certified tier 3 or a tier 4. It's hard to manage that. because your own premises undergo a change. You'll have to look at all the power sourcings, you'll have to look at optimizations, you have to look at security. And if you are in a multi-tenant building, multi-tenant premises, it has its own bearing on impact on your data center. You should be redefined to be a business leader. But I think for the lack of, anyway, for the matter of clarity, you may still want to call them as CIOs, CDOs, or CSOs, or whatever, right? And I think that's the biggest honor that you could give for people who have literally kept most of these, whatever, under whatever circumstances, absolutely flying high without impacting the end customer. It's a great deal, right? Your ability to define taking business to market as quickly as possible and value, time to value. Today, I think the biggest contributor in that space is the CIO. He's no more an enabler. I think he has a bigger role to play on that table in terms of how businesses thrive and how businesses compete, how they get that edge. So it is actually the value brought by the CIO. He should be redefined to be a business leader, but the larger role that they play is absolutely not enabling business, but I think being business partners, being able to take the business, the time to value, or the time to realize value, or the time to market. I think the biggest contributor in that space is going to be the CIOs. They make or break those decisions. They make or break those, those things that happen to the enterprise. So they are just, they cannot be, no more they can be taken as just enablers. Enabler is a very, very abused word. I think we should get rid of it now. They have a big role to play on the table, and they have a seat on that table, to on the business table, to really contribute. And I think the people who respond the fastest, the swiftest, is actually the CIOs. And I wonder why, we call them still as enablers. I mean, they are like, absolutely, they are the ones who are ensuring that the business is running. They're not enabling anything. It's enabling is a very small part of being responsible for business.